श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां दयाकरं दयाकारं दान्तं धर्मप्रवर्तकं प्रणमामि दयानन्दं मदाचार्यवरं परम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। In an extended introduction, in the last 2 days, we have seen, what have we seen? We have seen the connections between the means of knowledge and that which is to be known, pramana and prameya. Prameya is param brahma, myself as Brahman, as free, limitless and whole. That is what is to be known. And since it cannot be objectified, this Brahman is not an object, therefore it necessitates a means of knowledge that is not within the purview of everyday objects. So therefore Shastra, and how the Shastra teaches, by removing the pramatru, the pramata. Pramata means what? Knower. Yeah. Dislodges the knower. This is the specialty of this knowledge. No other body of knowledge can do that. In fact, all bodies of knowledge survive and thrive by adding to the knower, by adding a feather in the knower's cap. The knower is very much retained, and then the retention of the knower implies duality, because there will always be a difference between what? Knower and known. Then you can't call it Advaita. How can you call it Advaita? This is not Advaita. Because the difference has to be maintained when we are talking of knowledge of objects. However, when we are talking of the knowledge of the very content of the subject and the object, the knower cannot remain intact. The decimation of the knower, the disappearance of the knower here is a scary proposition that also we saw. The decimation of the knower, the disappearance of the knower is a scary proposition, because what happens as a result is that when I start to think, oh, knower is going away, no more pramata, that means what? Run away from the course. This is what happens. Because everybody wants to protect the knower. Why? Because the ahankara thinks the more information I have, the more powerful I am. This is just a review, we have seen this in detail. And so therefore, this is a notion, this is an incorrect notion, a wrong notion. Because how much information can you get? Let's say as much as the size of the head. That's all. But still, it is finite. And hanging on to finite notions, lots of finite notions, does not make infinite. The infinite is not a product of many finite things. It's not a property of many finite things. It is not at all something that is a product. It is not a property of anything. It's not a product of anything. It has no beginning. It has no end. I have to understand it as me. If the understanding of the infinite, Ananta, has to replace all the finite notions, the holder of those finite notions, namely myself, has also to be what? Replaced. The knower has to be replaced. The knower is not even replaced. The knower has to disappear, so much so that this knowledge is that which doesn't have a knower. Later on we'll see. The person who knows Brahman will never get up and say, I know Brahman. This is very beautifully illustrated in the second part of this Upanishad. So therefore, the disappearance of the knower means that I have to be ready for the knower to be decimated. I have to willingly submit for the knower to be removed as myself. Why? Because the self of the Upanishad is not confined to this knower-known divide. It's not just me and all other objects. What is this me that is unfolded by the Upanishads? The me that is unfolded by the Upanishad is the truth that transcends the subject-object divide. How does it do that? Because subject is a status that appears as though manifests in that consciousness which is free of being subject. Object is another status, temporary status, that is manifest, as it were, in that same consciousness which is free of being object. So this consciousness is I, it is free of subject-object differences, it transcends both. And this is what I have to know. And this is where we stopped yesterday, and we also saw the very beautiful opening prayer where everything is Brahman, and this Brahman has to be understood as the truth of oneself. And then let us get into the text with these words. Keneshitam preshitam patati manaha. Let's try that again, okay? Yeah. Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha. Kena pranah prathamah praiti yuktah. Keneshitam vachamimam vadanti. Chakshushrotram ka udevo yunakti. Together. Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha. Kena pranah prathamah praiti yuktah. Keneshitam vachamimam vadanti. Chakshushrotram ka udevo yunakti. The Upanishad is in the form of a dialogue. Not just this Upanishad. Every Upanishad is in the form of a dialogue, because that which is to be understood, being of a subtle nature. Subtle means not easily grasped. In fact, it cannot be grasped as an object at all. So that which is the subject matter of the Upanishads, which is what? Brahman, Param Brahma, myself as free and whole, which cannot be understood. How can it not be understood? As an object. So because it is myself, because it is subtle, how to understand it? Therefore, it needs a dialogue. There will be doubts, there will be error in the understanding, there will also be vagueness. In fact, vagueness is the most common after listening to the Upanishad, as we will see even in this Upanishad. So therefore, without a dialogue, these cannot be resolved. As we saw in the introduction itself, that the dialogue what we saw in the introduction is that there are many, many notions. There's a million notions in the head that needs to be negated. All the million notions need to be negated. Without negation, this cannot we cannot go further in this self-enquiry. And the negation, the methodology of negation, what does it involve? It has to involve a dialogue. Because the student, the Shishya, will not negate the notions. Who should negate the notions? The teacher should negate the notions. The Shishya will be happy with the notions because so many notions. I am the sum total of all my notions. This is what the thing is. Even if the person is unhappy, they are happy being unhappy in a way because that's what they are used to. And so then, therefore, the negation requires the presence of the teacher, and the presence of the teacher who negates will inevitably give rise to questions, why should this be negated? Therefore this necessitates a dialogue called Samvada, the special dialogue. Ordinary dialogue, Vada. Special dialogue between teacher and student, Samvada. The prefix sam means it's very, what is that? It's very well done. The prefix sam has the idea that it is extremely well done. So a well-crafted dialogue for the purposes of removal of doubts, vagueness and errors is what is presented in every Upanishad. Nachiketa Yama dialogue. And in the Prashnopanishad, the teacher's name is Pippalada, and there are 6 students, and then each one asks a question, and that comprises the Prashnopanishad. Sometimes we know the names of the students, like Uddalaka, teacher, Shvetaketu, student. Sometimes we do not know the names of either the student or the teacher, like in this Upanishad, but there is an active conversation, so we know that it is a dialogue. Things cannot always be resolved by dialogue, as we see in the efforts of diplomacy by various countries. You see, so many times, what does the dialogue lead to? More confusion. The dialogue does not resolve the doubt, but only here, when the subject matter is I, the dialogue resolves confusions completely. Why? Because the subject matter is I. And the I happens to not be an object about which I can have even more interpretations and even more notions. The I happens to be what? The subject. The content of the subject, the truth of the subject, and the subject, the being consciousness, and consciousness being self-evident, it's only this Atma can be taught completely. Nothing else in the world can be taught completely without any shesha, without any residue being left out. Why? Because you happen to be self-evident. Upon this rests the entire thing. The Svatas Siddha Vastu, Atma being Svatas Siddha, then because of that only it can be communicated totally without keeping anything back. try to teach me, for example, the meaning of the word sweet, using words. Tell me, let's pretend I have come from Mars. I don't know anything, okay? And then I come to the dining hall. And there is some sweet. And then tell me, I'll point and say, what is this? So tell me in words, what is sweet? Can you describe? No? One falls short. You have to say that's all. You can't describe. But Atma, yes. You can use the same words that are used in everyday language, knock off the limitations of the words, and then describe it thoroughly, totally, fully. Why? Because that which is the object of description is actually already you, the content of the subject. So therefore the dialogue is fruitful and the dialogue is fulfilling because you can put a true full stop at the end. And what is this full stop being put at? My pursuits. Knowing which self all pursuits come to an end, that is the true knowledge, and therefore I can put a full stop after my pursuits, because knowing which I am no longer a wanting person, a person of discontentment, a person of fear, a person subject to limitations. I am not. So therefore this teaching is complete. And so the teaching starts with the word kena, by whom. And it is also happens to be the name of the Upanishad. Sometimes the first word of the Upanishad is the name. Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam means what? Ishopanishad or Isha Vasya Upanishad. And then here also in the same vein, it begins with the word Kena, by whom, and then that is why it is talked about as what? Kenopanishad. Kena plus Upanishad, Kenopanishad. So this Kenopanishad is the ninth chapter in this particular Talavakra portion of the Samaveda. And Adi Shankara, introducing this Upanishad, says that the previous 8 chapters have to do with calming the mind through various upasanas, meditations, and other sadhanas, meditative practices. So after chapter 8, one is ready to ask very probing and emotionally mature questions. The student here is not talking Vedanta baby talk. He is not, or she is not asking what is Atma, how to spell Atma, where should I go for Atma? Not like that. A very peculiarly worded question, but a very a question that shows a high maturity and a high capacity for introspection on part of the student is there in the question. So it begins with the question, and then the next verse, the next mantra, the mantra number 2 will be the answer. Let us look at the question grammatically, and then let us, meaning, let's look at the translation, and then let us see that the pertinence of this question for our self-enquiry. Kena ishitam. Ishitam is to desire. Ishitam, Anandagiri, who writes the Tika means a kind of a commentary of the commentary, tells us it should actually be eshitam, because whenever this it comes, it, not it, okay? It is a suffix, and whenever the suffix it comes, then what happens? Then guna takes place. You all know what is guna, right? Say yes, even if you don't want to. Yes. Yeah. Not tamas, rajas and sattva. Grammatical guna. So, what is the guna for E? A. Yes. And so, it should actually be eshitam. Because the id agama takes guna here, it should be eshitam, but still it is what? Ishitam. Why? Chandasam. Yeah, poetic license means Chandasam. Not even poetic license, Vedic license. Poetic license means you might also try it after learning more Sanskrit. No. Vedic license. Only the sages can have this, nobody else. The sages who channel the Veda can talk like this, not us. So, kena eshitam. Eshitam means desired by whom? Desired by whom? And then another word is there. Kena. The kena also has to be imported. Only one time kena is used, but it goes with ishitam as well as the next word. What is the next word? Preshitam. Pra plus ishitam, preshitam. Prakarshena ishitam. So, since the two words are almost the same, we have to understand the meaning according to the Shastra. Adi Shankara gives the meaning of the word preshitam as directed by whom. So, first is willed by whom, and then the second one is what? Directed by whom? Patati. Pat means what? Fall. Patati, falls. What falls? Manaha. The mind falls. Ayyo, where did the mind fall? Don't worry, it's a virtual fall. The mind has fallen into the objects of thought. You can use the word patati to mean goes towards. That's also okay. Willed by whom? Directed by whom does the mind fall into various objects of thought? Kena pranaha. The prana. Prana means 5 pranas. The vital forces of the body, starting with prana, respiration, vyana, circulation, samana, digestion, and then apana, elimination, udana, tick, tick, tick. Udana is the timer that is fixed in the body. So these 5 pranas, they make the body alive, they function, but how do they know how to function? Do they have an instruction manual to follow how to function? How do they function? How does samana know that I have to digest this? Even though the person has eaten the wrong thing for 3 days in a row, I have to digest this. Somehow the food gets digested. You don't go there with a stick and stir the food around, thank God. Otherwise, already we don't have time. Imagine if we had to eat and then we were responsible for digesting the food. It would look very funny. First we have to swallow a stick and then have some remote control to make it go round and then send all the nutrients to various organs and body parts. First convert the food into nutrients. All this we do not know. Somehow you eat and it gets digested and the waste gets eliminated without any effort on anybody's part, without any knowledge on anybody's part. The blood circulates. Imagine if I had to have a pump here to circulate the blood. Nobody can go to sleep. Because as soon as you stop, the circulation also would stop. Nobody can go to sleep. So these panchatmakaha pranaha, these 5 pranas, how do they move in their various areas? How can they move on their own? How can anything be doing this on its own? And the word prana has an adjective. Prathamaha pranaha. Prathamaha means it is foremost, because without the presence of prana, nothing can function. Mind also cannot function. If the prana is leaving the body, the mind cannot function. This is illustrated very well in the Chandogya Upanishad. All the relatives come, the person is departing, the jiva is departing the body. All the relatives come and each one says, Janasi mam tvam, Janasi, Janasi mam, do you know me? Do you know me? Do you know me? Don't forget to put me in your will. Do you know me? So, this, do you know me, do you know me? Why do they ask? To test whether the person is still present or not. First, the organs of action go. The person is what? Now on the bed, unable to move, but still responding to sensations of touch and hot and cold. If somebody touches the hand, maybe they will grip, but not otherwise. Otherwise, not responding to the organs of action are not responding. After that, what? The sense organs also stop responding. They are not interested in taste, they are not interested in anything, they are not interested in much. The hands and legs also move very little, but the mind is alert. Then after a while, the mind also goes. That means what? The prana is about to go. That's why the prana is called Prathamaha. The word Prathamaha is borrowed from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, a very entertaining story is there. All the sense organs and the organs of action and the prana fell into a terrible argument, terrible fight. What was the fight? East or west, I am the best. Not you. Nobody can function without me. I am indispensable. And so Brahmaji said, okay, for 1 year, each sense organ goes away somewhere and then returns. And then we will take a vote. The eyes went away first. The eyes thought, without me the world cannot function. Because I am Pratyaksha Pramana. I am the one. Even out of all the Pratyaksha Pramanas, I am the beloved. I am here to stay. Without me, they cannot see. They'll keep falling down. They cannot eat. They don't know what they are eating. And then I will come back and I will be crowned the king of everybody. I will get the title Prathamaha. Eyes went, wandered all over the universe for the period of 12 months. They came back and they said, did you miss me? Did you miss me? They said, oh what, you are back, the other senses said. No, we did not miss you at all. The other senses took over and we did not even miss your presence even the slightest bit. Dejected, the eyes came back and started to do their own work. Then the ears left. The ears also thought, there is no communication. If you cannot hear, even if you talk, you don't know what the other person is saying. And the ears thought, these eyes are stupid. Right from the beginning we knew that. And then the ears also left for a whole year. No pun intended. And then came back. Nobody even noticed the ears had gone. Nobody even noticed that the ears came back. The ears too just said, okay, I am not indispensable. Like this, each and every, even the mind went and came back, nothing happened. Each and every sense organ went and came back, nothing happened. Then finally it was the turn of the prana. The prana went And everybody said, no, 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 don't go, we cannot live without you. Not even for a year, even for 1 minute, one cannot live without the prana. It was established. So the prana being there, the mind is active. Prana being there, the sense organs are active. So kena pranaha, prathamaha pranaha, prathamah pranaha, praiti. Kena yuktaha, enjoined by whom? Prathamah pranaha praiti. This prana moves around and knows what to do. Praiti means, here Adi Shankara in the Bhashya says, urdhvam gacchati, means you take a breath in, it goes upwards. How does this respiration, etc., know how to go upward? Kena pranaha prathamaha praiti yuktaha. The yuktaha should go with kenaha. Kena. Kena yuktaha prathamah pranaha praiti. This is the anvaya. Kena ishitam imam vacham vadanti. Willed by whom do these words? The imam vacham, imam prasiddhyartham. Prasiddhi means it should be, it is these well-known words. Falling effortlessly, flowing effortlessly from my mouth, these well-known words go. How? How do they go? How do they go forth? How do I know how to construct sentences? And how do I know what to say? How do I know what tongue formations should be there? Some aksharas, some syllables are called mahaprana. You have to breathe on them. Gha, ha, cha, tha, pha. You have to breathe on them. Mahaprana. The others are called alpa prana. Ga, pa, ma. All these are alpa prana, little effort. Mahaprana, great effort. How do the words know? How do you know where to put what? There must be somebody who is directing this show, how to know this, who is this entity. And then chakshushvrotram, the eyes and the ears, kau devaha yunakti, who enjoins the chakshu. Chakshu means eyes, shrotram, ears. In the same way, u means indeed. Indeed, who enjoins the eyes and the ears to go forth and see and hear, respectively. How do the eyes see? How do the ears hear? How does the mind think? How does the prana function? This is the student's question. Without much ado, we can see how mature this question is and how much the student must have thought. What kind of a rich inner life the student must have cultivated, and how much clearance of the raga dveshas has happened to meditate upon, to contemplate upon a question of this caliber. This kind of a caliber. Very important question. Usually we take everything for granted. Yes, mouth is there, I eat, ears are there, they hear, mind is there, I think, therefore I think. But then, what are the mechanisms of this that help cognition to take place, sight to take place, perception of sound to take place? This we take for granted. Not many of us will sit and contemplate on these kinds of questions. This question again is reminiscent of the question in the Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, and many other Upanishads also. What is that? Kasminnu bhagavo vijñāte idam sarvam vijñātam bhavati. The question in the Mundaka Upanishad says, knowing which is everything as good as known, as well as known. That means what? There must be one thing because of which all these things function. There must be one thing. There must be a thing because of which all these other things function. That must be there. And what is that thing? What is the master key of the universe, knowing which I know that I know to know that thing which is the master key. What is the master key that unlocks all the mechanisms in the universe, starting with my own body-mind sense complex? So here, Kau Devaha Yunakti. Devaha here does not mean God. Adi Shankara will say, Dyotanatmakat Devaha. An effulgent being. Who is the effulgent being? You. Consciousness here. Which effulgent being? Effulgent being means knowing being. A being that knows is a knowing being. Which knowing being directs this show of sight, sound, thought, prana, and cognition of hearing. Who is this that's directing this show? This is the student's question. Now when we look at it closely, we find that there are two synonyms. Ishitam and Preshitam. Two things which sound similar, which have more or less the similar meaning. And then Adi Shankara raises an objection and answers the objection. What is the objection? Punarukti dosha, meaning there is a fallacy of redundancy. How can the two words, meaning more or less the same, be used in the Veda? That means if it has the fallacy of redundancy, it cannot be apaurusheya. Apaurusheya means revealed. Revealed knowledge must be flawless, and here we have already found a flaw. What is the flaw? Redundancy. Punarukti means redundancy. If one word does it, Kena Ishitam was said, why do you have to say Preshitam? There is a very subtle thing. The student corrects himself while talking. It looks like, first he says, Kena Ishitam. Willed by whom? And then, Kena Preshitam. Preshitam here means directed by whom? Well, another objection is raised and answered. You are just splitting hairs. You Vedantins have a lot of free time. And you don't even like movies. That's why, how do you spend your time? Splitting hairs. Splitting hairs, you know the expression? It means keeping on analyzing, keeping on analyzing. It's as difficult as splitting one hair. Can you cut one hair? Not horizontally, vertically. Can you cut one hair vertically? The question comes only if one has hair, okay? Then only you can think about that. So, otherwise, this is not a very good example. So, but it's as difficult as splitting the hair vertically. Cutting hair, we are not talking of that, everybody can do. Splitting the hair, how difficult it is, how impossible it is, even with the most invisible of, what is that, tiny microscopic scissor, even that, or knife, it's very difficult to do. So the objection here is, you Vedantins thrive on this kind of a thing because you don't like movies, you don't like malls, you don't like all the other things which normal people like. So how will you spend your time? Splitting this kind of a splitting activity. That's all that is there for you. Ayushman Bhava, live long. This is the objection. Simply, you take everything and then you split it. And what do we say? We say no. We are not into hair splitting or analyzing for academic purposes. What is the purpose here? What is the tatparya of the Upanishad? To know myself as free and whole. That is the tatparya of the Upanishad, and therefore our analysis, word by word analysis, sentence by sentence analysis, upasarga by upasarga, prefix by prefix analysis, suffix by suffix analysis ensures that we leave nothing to chance. We do not take anything for granted, nor do we gloss over things. Why? Because we have Shraddha in the Upanishad, and the Shraddha of Adi Shankara runs so deep that each and every akshara, each and every syllable is treated with revered respect, with devotion. His commentary on this and other Upanishads is a puja to each and every akshara. Because it is revealed knowledge and it has something to tell me, and because it doesn't have anarthakyam. Anarthakyam means uselessness, purposelessness, it does not have. So therefore what? It is pertinent in every single way. Each and every syllable is pertinent. And so his puja is writing the commentary, and our puja is reading that and understanding that, so that we are transformed. Because if he, regardless of how busy he was, so many centuries ago, took the time to write carefully, what can we do? The best thing we can do is to read it and understand it equally carefully. So what is the difference between who wills the mind to fall into various places, who directs the mind to fall into various places? What's the difference? We would say on the face of it, not much difference. But listen carefully. Will means what? There is an entity. Will means there is an actor, correct? Karta is there. Because what is the definition of karma? Karma means it's not just chalanatmakam karma, that which moves is karma. No. Karma means there should be a will behind it. That's why when the donkey kicks, it is not karma. Why? No will. Will is not there. It has freedom of action. No. Yes, it can decide, it has some free will, but mostly it is programmed. It can decide, I will kick now, but it can't decide, I won't kick now. It has freedom of action, but it does not have freedom over action. That's why the oft quoted example is what? What is the maxim? Do not stand behind the donkey. Why? Because it doesn't say, think, oh, somebody in orange, sadhu is standing behind me, I should not kick the sadhu. Can it think like that? No. If the sadhu gets a nice kick, who will we advise? Will we go and advise the donkey, or shall we advise the sadhu? We have to advise the sadhu. Next time, please don't stand here. Maharaj, please go somewhere else. We have to advise the sadhu. Don't stand behind the donkey. So therefore, will means there is an entity wielding the will. That's the first question, the first formulation of the student. Then he edits himself. He said, no. If there is an entity, means what? Then somebody should be controlling that entity also, correct? How? If it's an entity, I am also what? An entity. So if there is an entity controlling my mind, controlling my sense organs, my organs of action, my prana, that means then we have the other question begging, who is controlling that entity? Then we are forced to say another entity. Then what question comes? Who is controlling that other entity? Then what we have to say? Yet another entity. And then we'll be here for the rest of the 3-month course saying yet another entity, yet another entity, yet another entity. Then the Veda will get one more dosha, one more fallacy. What is that? Anavastha dosha, the fallacy, the flaw of endless regress. Infinite regress. All the time regressing. Okay? So, this is what it is. Endless, infinite regress. So, therefore, the student edits the question because the word has come out of the mouth. Kena ishitam? No. Preshitam. Kena preshitam. This is a little edit. In those days, they did not have whiteout, where you can put that and erase. That's why both the words are still there. Kena preshitam. It's a verbal, what is that? Teaching. Oral teaching. So there is no way of erasing the word that was said before. You can at the most edit and correct it. And what is the correction? Preshitam. Preshitam means directed by whom? Come on, willed by whom? The will is what? Will means it entails an entity. Director also is an entity. Director means there should be. Directed by whom means what? There is a director. And the director also might have a will. So why are you splitting hairs again? What is the difference between somebody who wills and somebody who directs? A world of difference is there. Go to the set of the movie. What is the director doing? Sitting in a chair. Not doing anything. This is very important. Simply watching and then correcting maybe. Sometimes not even that. Simply sitting. And then another ancient example that is given is what? King. In the presence of the king, things happen. The ministers jump to go various places, get the information, get the taxes from the people, bring it to the treasury. All that happens just when the king walks into the court. Why? They bow to the power of the king. The king doesn't have to do anything. Merely the presence of the king is enough to get things done. A more modern example is the shop floor in a factory, garment factory. Some people are stitching, some people are ironing, some people are cutting the excess threads which are hanging, some people are doing quality control and making sure all the shirts that are made or all the dresses that are made look exactly alike and the size is the same, and whatever does not fit the quality control is discarded into another pile to be sold on sale. The ones that pass the quality control will be export material. So everybody is doing certain things. And then there is a supervisor on the shop floor. Supervisor gets a phone call, goes out of the room. Then everybody starts talking, everybody starts goofing off, everybody starts playing, everybody starts making lunchtime plans, what to do, where to go, how to do this. And then the supervisor comes back. Oh, supervisor is coming, he or she is, supervisor is coming. Everybody, only sound is that of the machines running. No other sound. The humming of the machines alone is, the supervisor is not doing anything. Is the supervisor cutting? No. Is the supervisor stitching? No. Is the supervisor doing quality control? No. Supervisor simply is that entity in whose presence everything gets done without the supervisor's input even. Because everybody is trained, they know what to do. You see the difference now between Ishitam and Preshitam? Yeah. Ishitam would still be dualistic. Because if there is, not only it is Anavastha dosha means what? Fallacy of infinite regress, but it is also it talks of, it would also result in duality. If there is an entity that is directing me, then what do I become? Puppet. You have seen puppet show? Yeah. Like this. all controlled by strings, going this way, going that way. You can make the puppet do the Bharatnatyam dance, it will go like this. The puppet. I am a mere puppet of some entity who wills me to do here, who wills me to go there, who wills me to see, who wills me, who not directs, controls my entire life. So this has two problems. One is, who is the controller of the controller? And the second question is, then that means what? If I am directed by somebody else's will, that means I am enslaved. And if I am permanently enslaved, there is moksha hanihi. Moksha hani means there is no possibility of moksha. If there is no possibility of moksha, there is shastra anarthakyam. The uselessness of the shastra is there. Why study the shastra if it cannot liberate me? If it cannot prepare me for this knowledge? Why study the first portion of the Veda? Why study the second portion of the Veda? Then see, all these problems come if we just take the meaning of the word eshitam. So therefore the word preshitam becomes a very important character, because there what we see is, now we can look at the mantra in this manner: in the presence of whom? In the presence of what? Do these, what effulgent all knowledge, in the presence of which effulgent all knowledge, endless, beginningless, existent consciousness, do these organs, sense organs, organs of action, prana, etc., do their functions properly? Very beautiful question. Excellent question, in fact. And the question here is well thought, and then it is a segue to talk about to talk about an analysis of the word tvam pada vichara. Because the student thinks, I'm not in charge of breathing, I'm not in charge of even sight, because eyes I did not make, I opened the eyes, I can see. And all this is happening because of what? And that what, the answer to this what, is in the question, is in the form of that awareness which does not do anything on its own, like the shop floor manager, supervisor, like the king, in whose presence all actions come to life. It's himself, the king, is not an actor. Without acting, without actually doing, in whose presence everything lights up. That is the student's question here. Let us look at the answer. Shrotrasya shrotram manaso manoyat vacho vacham sa upranasya pranaha चक्षुषश्चक्षुरतिमुच्य धीराः चक्षुषश्चक्षुरतिमुच्य धीराः प्रेत्यास्मान् लोकादमृता भवन्ति together. Shrotrasya shrotram manaso mano yat vacho vacham sa upranasya pranaha चक्षुषश्चक्षुरति मुच्यधीराः प्रेत्यास्मा लोकादमृता भवन्ति. The answer is as cryptic as the question. So the Shishya and the Guru are well matched. Both of them are talking in riddles. So here the student's question was, willed by who or directed by whom, in whose presence do all my sense organs, my mind, etc. function? That was the question. And the answer should have been, okay, this is the entity, willed by this entity or directed by Satchidananda, this Satyam Jnanam Anantam consciousness. But the teacher plays along. This Upanishad is full of word plays and paradoxes, as though paradoxes. So we can enjoy that. And then right here it starts. Shrotrasya Shrotram. Shrotrasya. Which case is that? Sixth case. Very good. Fantastic. So, sixth case. Shrotram. Which case? First case. Shrotrasya Shrotram. Sixth case means of the ear. And then first case is what? Ear. The ear of the ear. Chakshushaha. Again sixth case. Chakshuhu. First case. Eye of the eye. Shrotrasya Shrotram. Chakshushash Chakshuhu. And then what? Pranasya Pranaha. Manaso Manoyat. Pranasya Pranaha. Manasaha Manaha. Same thing. The prana of the prana, the mind of the mind. Chakshushash Chakshuhu. Eye of the eye. Atimuchya. Atimuchya Dhiraha. Means knowing this, they are free. The Dhiras means the wise ones. We'll see all this. We are looking at the translation. The wise ones, knowing this, are free. Knowing this, the wise ones are free. How are they free? They are free first knowing this, and then Pretya Asman Lokat. The body continues after self-knowledge. Does it continue or not? Yes, thank God. Yeah. Otherwise, what will happen? Yes, I know. Finished. Yeah, already so few people studying Vedanta. And then if I knew, as soon as I get enlightened, what will happen? Nobody will come. And that's not all the problems. Because if all the enlightened people are gone, who is the teacher? Unenlightened is the teacher. The teacher is ignorant. Student also who? Ignorant. Andhenaiva niyamanaha yatha andhaha. Like the blind leading the blind. So the whole pursuit itself comes to an end. Thank God, life does not depart at the gain of self-knowledge. The person lives out the life, and then apretya asman lokat, when the body departs, when they depart from the body, amritaha bhavanti. They are no longer born, they are no longer subject to the cycles of birth and death, and they no longer become, They don't become a non-entity. This is our greatest fear, that I'll become a non-entity after death. Here it's very clearly said, Amritaha te bhavanti. These dhiras become immortal. Become means they are already immortal. How are they immortal? While they were alive, they were free of samsara. They knew they were Satchidananda consciousness, and then that consciousness, which was as though housed in this body-mind-sense complex, is what? Has departed the body-mind-sense complex. Like if this room is destroyed, the space, then Amrita bhavati, Amrito bhavati, we can say. The space becomes immortal. It's as funny as saying that. The space is already not subject to the confines of this room, but in the room, the space obtaining in the room gets a new body, gets a new name and a new form. It's called now hall space, room space, closet space, living room space, bedroom space, stomach space. And if you're not understanding what I'm saying, head space means spaced out. So, like this, so many spaces, but they are all what? They are all mithya. All these confining, that which supposedly confines space is mithya. So too, that which the body or mind complex that houses as though this consciousness is also mithya. More we'll see tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.